This is the Prep Report with Mike Hutchins and Robin Francis, an in-depth look at high school sports in the West Tennessee area. Well, we're getting ready for the 2018 high school football season to start. It starts this Friday night, and one thing that we're looking at, really we have to look back before we can look forward. We, of course, go back to Union City, and they're on to a state championship last year in 2A. And Darren Boland's fourth state title at Union City, unheard of territory, Mike Hutchins.
Absolutely, Robin. Fourth in 9 years, the first in 2A, as you mentioned. I'm not sure what all those naysayers have left in the tank now. It was always before you couldn't win in 2A. Well, he did last year. And
that's right.
I thought Robin probably with not one of his more talented football teams. Obviously, they had some things go right. They stayed healthy. They did have a record-setting fullback in Trey Jones, 2,436 yards rushing. They had a 1,500-yard rusher and quarterback in Braxton Waddell. But bottom line, and we've seen this so many times before, they were just mentally tougher than everybody else. It was a year where I thought there was not a clear front-runner in Class 2A. I thought there were 6 or 7 teams that had an opportunity to win. You get hot at the right time. You stay healthy, and the things fall your way, and I think there could have been a different champion. But with Union City, I think the experience and certainly the mental toughness were the big things there for the Tornadoes to come out on top.
I've gotten to know Braxton and Trey. They both working with us at the turf department, and I asked Braxton, I said, when did you realize he had something special? And he said basically back early. He said Trenton game. He said it was about that time for him. For others, it was a little bit later. He said, but one thing that sort of motivated him was when they scrimmaged Waverly. And what a lot of people don't realize is Union City will go to camp, they'll wear themselves out, and then they'll go scrimmage and absolutely have hardly anything left in the tank. And with several players out, Waverly was trash-talking and doing all kinds of different things. And he said that motivated him for most of it. And like you said, but one thing that, like you said, with them having record-setting seasons, but there were a lot of just buddies on that team. They were so close-knit, and I think that goes a long way, especially chemistry.
A lot of things we talk about seem so cliche-ish, Robin, and you talk about senior leadership and people kind of roll their eyes, but it is so important. I think you had a very tight-knit group. You talk about Austin Jernigan up front, Colton Quick, Wilton Wade, kids who've played together for several years, kids who are buddies, Tyler Boland. I think you look back and they had the camaraderie, and they had the friendship, and they wanted to play for each other. And again, I think that means so much. And, you look back at Union City and what they were able to accomplish. Their 2 losses last year, Robin, 41-0 in the season opener to Mayfield and a big 5-touchdown loss to Adamsville later on in the season. So it's been real easy to get your dauber down a little bit, to drop your head, say, oh, my, we're not very good, and this is happening, the sky's falling. And they didn't do that. They won some close games. They won some games where they didn't particularly play well. And as we know, you can't play your best every week. I mean, you got to have the weeks where you somehow survive and advance, and I thought that's what happened. I thought the game against Peabody the second time around last year probably was as close a thing to a state championship as they saw until they got to Chattanooga-Tyner. I thought their most impressive performance was at Columbia Academy. I saw that in the semifinals to where basically they just rolled it out there and said, we're going to show you how physical football is played. And when you haven't seen it, Robin, they only threw 29 passes. 29 passes, not complete 29 passes last year. They only threw 29 passes all last season, which is average about 2 a game. And I think it's a situation to where people know what they're going to do. They're going to run veer midline. They're going to run a triple option. And is Darren Bowling satisfied with 3 yards at a time? We saw that last week at the Jamboree in Dyersburg with Haywood. Haywood goes 70 on the first play, and lo and behold, this undersized Union City team that has, 3 kids weigh 200 pounds up front. They keep the ball 18 plays and go 70 yards. A lot of that was 2 and 3 yards at a time. And they just break your will. They just break your will. And lo and behold, you look up and it's here they come again. And, this is not real fun anymore for us. And I think that was the case a lot of the times last year. And again, when you're not used to seeing it, when you're not used to preparing for it. And I think that's a reason why Mayfield had great success against Union City last year. They had all summer to prepare for the triple option. And again, when you have all summer to prepare as opposed to 3 days during the season, I think it makes a great deal of difference.
Coaching changes that we have, Humboldt with finally getting a new coach. I know they searched long and hard to finally get somebody, but somebody that cares about the program.
Yeah, Anthony Ballard Sr. comes up from the middle school there in Humboldt. They tried Danny Now coming back for a second time. He found out real quick that really wasn't what he wanted to do, the rebuilding process. He's 70 years old now, Rob, and he remembered the Humboldts of 20 and 25 years ago, and certainly that landscape has changed a great deal there. They had Joseph Shepard on an interim basis last year. They had Junior Reed start the year, and after a week he resigned and stepped down. So not a lot of stability there. It's not fashionable anymore, Robin, to play football, which is really sad because they've got a program that's got a great deal of tradition there. You used to talk about Humboldt, and you talk about Milan. You talked about the folks that were mentioned in the upper echelon of rural West Tennessee football, and you had to put the Vikings there. Hopefully, Anthony Ballard can drum up some interest. He knows a lot of these kids from having played in junior high, and that they'll get back on track there.
And, of course, we have an issue with Scotts Hill's coach and Coach Duncan. Unfortunately, with some infractions that are off the field, costing him a job and possibly his freedom.
Yeah, a lot of accusations there. Certainly that process will see its way through. Daniel Duncan, I think in his third season there at Scotts Hill. Everybody remembers his dad, David Duncan, who was at McKenzie for a number of years and a track coach there as well. And I think he's a superintendent maybe at Brewston now. And again, very unfortunate. And certainly this timing of it, you're talking about a couple of days before your season opening game, and a lot of turmoil in that program there, and a lot of young men's lives have been affected.
And, of course, you have decided to step away from the Messenger, start a new position with the City of Union City Schools, and as communications director. And a lot of people really don't know what that entails, but it basically entails not only handling different things of letting the public know what's going on within the school system, but also handling some behind-the-scenes stuff to make it easier for everybody to get information.
You're exactly right, Rob, and it's been a learning process for me. It's been a great transition for me. I've really enjoyed what I've done so far for the first 6-7 weeks. Everybody thought, I think it was going to be a sports position, and there's some sports included. We're going to continue to cover all Union City's athletic teams, both on the middle school and high school level. But I've been in the elementary schools and gone with the teachers to deliver school supplies and before school started. I've gone with a softball team to the nursing home to do a little community service project. I've done some stories on teachers in each of our 3 buildings who've been there 25 years and have been selfless in their actions and in their service to Union City schools and students, and had a chance to do some stories academically on the ACT scores, the AP dividends and the payouts there, and done a story on the band and their preseason, and those kids work hard, and Jason Deem does a great job as band director there. It's been fun. I still believe, Robin, we live in an era of technology, and I know we've had to open a Twitter account, and I've sure taken a lot of ribbing about that. We've used a lot of Facebook, our website, tornadotouch.net, but I still believe there's a part of society that's missing out, and I think it's still effective, just pressing flesh, going around looking people in the eyeball, going around shaking their hands, telling them, hey, what do you need from me? This is what I can do for you. This is what we can help you with. Let us tell your story. And bottom line is, that's what I am as a storyteller. And I'm out there telling stories about the students, the faculty, the athletes, and all the other people that make the Union City school system a great school system.
And, of course, you step away. Kevin Weeks is promoted. And Kevin's been such a long-time person within the print media and at the Messenger as well. A very qualified person to take your place down there, and he's going to do a great job.
No question. Kevin's come to see me a couple of times, brought his football tab by on Wednesday of this week. Very proud of it. Did a great job there. Just, something that was our baby for a long time together. He's taken over and taken ownership of that. And has a great deal of pride in it. He works hard at it. He knows the people know him. He knows how to do things here. And again, I think there's going to be a seamless transition there for Kevin. I think he's going to have some part-time folks that are going to help him out there. Obviously, we're going to be able to help him out with Union City schools on the times where he has some conflict or they have 3 and 4 games at the same time, and he can pull from our website. But certainly have no reservations about Kevin stepping up there. He's going to do a great job, and I think the people are going to enjoy a lot of his writing and especially his photography. And,
of course, the person that brought you into this business, and David Bartholomew, we lost him earlier this week. We send our condolences to his family, to Kevin, to Susan, and to Dave's wife and their mother, as he was such an influence not only in print but also he was such a big pal of Jim Cawley.
Yeah,
they were always
they're telling stories right now.
They were always together.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that a lot of people were talking about, that they were always not only in the sports but in the news as well. They did double duties and a lot back then.
Yeah, they chased a lot of ambulances. They were in a lot of courthouses. They knew what went on, Robin, in our community, and that's one of the great things about having local media. You have people who are familiar with not only the process but the people. And certainly Dave was very special to me. He actually hired me as a football stringer back when I was 21 years old, and gave me an opportunity there. He covered my games when I was at South Fulton High School and in middle school, and Dave was a big personality. Some of my greatest and fondest memories of Dave was when he was the hospitality room chairman for the Obion County basketball tournament. I'm telling you, talk about eating good, we ate good. And we had a lot of businesses who would donate food, would donate money, and that was a special project for Dave. And, was very active in covering the city and county government here, then went on to, with Milton Hamilton in the state legislature. I think worked for Philip Pinion some up there before retiring and returning to Lexington, where he took care of his ailing parents. But Dave's a very special person, and I'll always remember, and I'm sure everybody does it. We wrote a column every Friday. It's called Personally, and we've continued to add a little bit at the Messenger over the years, but the last words were always the same. Say something good about Obion County, and he always did.
That's exactly right. And I remember one of the things that struck me about Dave when I would read the column. You remember when they used to have the number of the county, whatever rank you were, a population at the first of your license plate. And that was one thing that bothered him when they took that away, is that we didn't have that distinction. And it was sort of one of those things, if you were a geography or if you were a state person, you could associate that with the county. You'd go look them up. Are they that, it's obviously Shelby or Davidson. But then you get to other counties and you have to look them up and find out the different things. That always stuck with me about him and his coverage of not only local but statewide too.
Yeah, you're right. And a funny story that I remember folks telling about Dave is he was covering a shooting over in South Fulton. I think Nathan Mallory, someone there who was trying to elude the law or whatever, and there were a lot of shots flying. And everybody remembered that Dave was a big, robust fellow, weighed about 415 pounds, depending on what time of the year and how much he had for lunch. And Dave and Jim Cawley were there covering that live. I'm talking about with a remote. And they said Dave somehow got under a Volkswagen. Now, I'm not sure how that ever happened or whatever, but he told us the story so many times that, when your life's in danger and you're wondering where your next meal is going to come from or where it's going to be served from, you do what you got to do. And he said, I got under that Volkswagen, and I don't know how I got under there, but I know it took a lot to get me out.
Oh, one of those people and those personalities that makes this business so much fun, and he will be missed. Looking at some of tonight's games as we get ready for some of the stuff that's going on this season, Camden Central, Waverly Central. Waverly's going to be a good one, especially offensively. The young man is back who can absolutely sling that ball. Yeah,
Evan Stanfield, had a chance to see him in a preseason scrimmage, Robin. I think he's already thrown, if I'm not mistaken, almost for 9,000 yards his first three high school seasons there at Waverly. He's going to sling it around again. Throw a lot of short passes that turn into a lot of long plays. They've got some folks back at receiver, got the running back. I think the question about Waverly will always be, are they going to be physical enough on the defensive side of the football to stop the Union Cities, to stop a Peabody if that was the case of them getting that far. But, again, done a great job there, does Mac McMahon. And, I think our program is going to be one of those 5 or 6 that has an opportunity to win this year.
Westview and Dresden renew their rivalry again on Friday night. It's one that you had been on Thursday night to open the season. Moved it to Friday night this year. Yeah,
going to be played there at the Skyhawk Stadium there, HK Grantham Field, and the tide may turn a little bit. I think Westview's going to be better. Went 4-6 last year. That's covering a winless campaign in Trey Canterell's first year. Obviously, everybody's talked about Ty Simpson and exactly what is he and has he been offered by Michigan and is he going there and is it real? And, I think he's a young man that's got a lot of intangibles. Obviously, he's a coach's son. He's got great size. He's got some things you can't coach. I think watching his progress is going to be fun. They've got Marcus Taylor in the backfield that I think is going to be a threat there running the football. And I expect Westview to be much better, and I think this game's going to be a lot closer than it has been in the past.
Booker T. Washington will be at Peabody. I covered one of those games at one point. Booker T. couldn't find their way to Old Freed Field when it existed, and the game was like an hour late. But I think that they'll be able to find this one. Hopefully, they'll take a left at Jackson. Obviously, it's a rental win for Peabody as they're coming into a season. They're heavily favored in Region 7-2A.
Yeah, and that's despite losing Cooper Bogus in the offseason to a auto accident. Conflicting reports of whether he may be back at the end of the year or may not. Noah Hallbrook's going to step in there, and he's going to make some plays at quarterback. He's got a great deal of quickness. He's probably not the prototypical quarterback, but he's a playmaker back there. And it's a Peabody roster, Robin. You remember they talked about last year. This bunch of sophomores this year is going to be somebody to be looked upon the next couple of years. It's their juniors now. They got the Dixon kid back at running back. They got Jasper Albia, who's back from a year of being away from injury. It's a good football team, and then certainly they're going to make some noise, I believe.
Hallbrook kid is just a gamer. I talked to him after the Union City and Peabody region game that they played at Elam Stadium. He's just a gamer. He gave it his all. He did not have any offensive support to go against Union City, and he pitched a beautiful game, but just came up on the short end of that. He'll definitely be might be the one that comes up to shine with Bogus going down.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this entire league, Robin, we'll talk about that a lot. It's much like last year. It may be tougher to win this region championship than it is to win the state championship because you've got McKenzie and they're running back from last year, a great sophomore, the Miller kid. You got TCA and some of their playmakers back. You've got Adams was going to be big and physical. Their quarterback's back. You got Peabody, you got Union City. Somebody's going to get left at home, just like McKenzie did last year. It was McKenzie team that played Union City down the wire 56-54 back in Week 9 and still was left at home for the playoffs. Probably could have made a round or two advancement in the postseason had they made it in.
Humboldt will be at Milan. This obviously is a Viking team that's going to be a little undersized, and Milan also new head coach with Milan.
And I think that's the big thing of the Aug season. It's not how many changes we had in the coaches. It's probably two of the most storied programs in rural West Tennessee, both having coaching changes in the same season. You talk about Teddy Pettigrew there, a longtime assistant at Milan, played at Milan for Jeff Morris, finally stepping in. I think he's been the defensive coordinator for the last 10 or 11 years. Finally gets his shot there. They've got some folks back from last year that are experienced, and I know the expectations are high there. And then, as we mentioned earlier, the Humboldt job, and this traditionally was one of the biggest rivalries, Robin, in rural West Tennessee. It's not been that way the last several years.
You also have Huntington at McKenzie. I thought the Mustangs may have underachieved a bit in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe that's this year everybody's talking about Lake County and Cornersville, and I think that may help Huntington this year because they're flying a little bit on the radar. I had a chance to talk with J.R. Kirby last week at the Dyersburg Jamborees, offensive coordinator there at Covington. He said they had a heck of a scrimmage with Huntington the week before. Very physical, got some great playmakers, and we've seen them in the past, Robin, have some kids that have some great numbers in the regular season, and because of a lack of depth, because of injury, that really played a factor to them in the postseason. You got to stay healthy, and I think if Huntington does, I think they can make some noise.
It's South Gibson and Lexington, Ripley, Southside, Haywood, Henry County. This is always a fun opener.
Yeah, we saw Haywood last week, Robin. I'm telling you, on the hoof. It's as good-looking a high school football team as I've ever seen. 18 starters back from last year's 4A team that lost to Springfield in the semifinals. A lot of talent, a lot of size, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. And they'll face a Henry County team that I can promise you they'll be laying in the weeds weight. You know, that this is a program, Robin, whether it be against those good Liberty teams a couple of years back and now against Haywood, they open the season with a bang. And you know, I think that prepares them for what they're going to face down the road in that Class 5A region there in Clarksville. And I think James Counts Jr. has been looking forward to this season as soon as last season was over with.
Lake County will be at Halls. This Falcon team is one that a lot of people are pointing to.
Yeah, Desmond Johnson is going to be somebody we talk an awful lot about. 2,500 rushing yards last year. He's back for his senior year. Another team, Robin, that were predominantly sophomores last year. They got a lot of folks back with Josh Puckett there, and they're going to be heavily favored, I think, to make a deep run. I think you could see them, Cornersville, Huntington, one of those teams come from this side, and they're going to play Greenback probably in a championship game in December.
Desmond Johnson, one of the best athletes in West Tennessee, without a doubt. Fulton County at Gleason, Fulton City at Greenfield, Munford at Covington. One of Covington's only slip-ups last year came in Week 1.
Yeah, it did. Our buddy Nick Markle, who was assistant coach here at Union City, had a really good good team last year and lost one time during the regular season, and had a chance to see him and on the scrimmage level a couple of weeks ago. They're young, got a lot of sophomores. I think Covington's loaded for bear again, Rob, and I think they got a lot of good kids back, and I think it's we saw them last year make it all the way to the championship game and give Alcoa fits. They were within a touchdown there in the fourth quarter, and I think Marty Wheeler does a really good job there, and I think they could be someone to keep an eye on again to get back to Cookeville.
Adamsville will be at Bolivar Central. Tipton Rosemark at Gibson County. I think Gibson County scheduled these games with Tipton and Rosemark thinking Reno wins. They're not. No. Tipton Rosemark has some excellent athletes, and they play in a very tough private school area. Now, a Reno win, MLK Prep will be at Dyersburg. Obviously, what Bart Stowe is thinking about is to get him a win right off the bat.
Absolutely so, and he's coming off a jamboree showing last week against Covington. Did not go very well, so they'll need that for their confidence moving forward.
Dyer County will be at Crockett County. Ballard Memorial at South Fulton. We have a lot of situation going on with South Fulton. Obviously, graduation. Coach Eric Knott, with his illness right now, we wish him the best and hope that he's going to be able to get on the sidelines more and more.
Yeah, completing his second week of radiation this week, Robin. Goes to Memphis, stays there all week long, comes home on the weekends, and had a chance to talk with Coach Knott a couple of times, and certainly what a class act, what a great guy,
he
or whatever, and underwent the surgery with the tongue cancer there, now the radiation, hopefully everything when they complete the radiation was going to get back to normal a little bit. I know the prognosis is good, but again, numbers issues at South Fulton. I think they had 19 at one time. They had all call in the halls and brought in 5 or 6 or 7 guys. And I really have reservations about doing things like that because I think you tell the guys who have paid the price all summer long, who have not missed workouts, who have not missed agilities, who have not missed weight room and sessions, hey, what you really did really doesn't matter. And you can come out here at the 1st of August and be on the football team. I understand numbers dictate you have to do things sometimes, but I think this is real dangerous. And South Fulton lost a lot. We look back at what they were able to accomplish last year, and Jalen Scott was just a man among boys running the football, had about 1,500 yards. They went to the playoffs again. Again, they'll be a young South Fulton team, and I think they'll certainly have their challenges both on the field and off the field this year.
Well, Bryan Central's trying to improve off of last year, which had a playoff win, got to the second round, had a nice fitting in place in not only in the region, but really had some big wins. Big win over Dyersburg, and then, like we said, the playoff win. They've got Riverside tonight. That's a game that they could have won last year, lost by 1 in the opener.
Yeah, went down to the wire. And it's Bryan Central team. I think that they have possibilities of building, Robin, on last year's success. Only the 3rd time in the 60 years of football that they've actually won a first-round playoff game last year. And Paul Decker went 5-7. They lost 2-time 1,000-yard rusher Hunter Smith at fullback. They lost a 4-year starter at quarterback in Cade Rogers, but they've got some folks back that can play. I promise you that. Luke Garrigan at linebacker is going to make a lot of tackles. I think you look at Wilson at quarterback, and I think he's really had a nice preseason. Ran for over 100 yards last week. You got to get a good fullback game going there, and they've got some other folks up front. Landon Starks, I think, is going to be a name to watch on both sides of the ball. Starting at center, going to play some defensive tackle a little bit as well. I think it's a situation where you want to build on last year. The key to do that is getting off to a good start. Stone Frost is back at quarterback for Riverside. That's the coach's son. He's a 4-year starter. He started in Moore County actually his freshman year. His daddy took the job at Riverside prior to his sophomore season, so this is his 3rd year there. Had a big year last year. Had a big game last year against Bryan County Central. Threw the football very well. Got to keep a handle on him. And got to defensively, Robin, gang tackle and get some folks around the football, something that they've struggled with in the past several seasons.
Union City will go to Mayfield. I think everybody in the city of Union City that's a football fan is wondering, is this going to be a repeat of last year?
Well, Mayfield's got a lot of folks back, Rob. They got
do.
Quarterbacks back. They got receivers back. And if you remember last year, they didn't do anything impressive. It was almost like one-on-one basketball. They threw it out to the flank and had their best guys one-on-one with some Union City defensive backs. It just couldn't get them to the ground. They did lose 4 or 5 starters up front offensively, and we know that that's where games are won and lost. And, I think it's a situation where Mayfield's going to be heavily favored again. They went to the semifinals last year, 12 state championships in school history, obviously a lot of tradition, a lot of history there with the Cardinals. Joe Morris has done a tremendous job there, just continuing the family tradition. I was really surprised, impressed with Union City last week. Again, a lot of undersized folks up front. What we thought might be a strength heading into the preseason was their offensive line. They've had some defections, had to move some folks around. Jay Ramsey has gone from slot to offensive tackle to 175 pounds. They've got some folks up front. Neil Brown, who started 7 games as a freshman for Union City last year, is going to move down from tackle to guard. DJ Gray's a big kid, about 290, going to play center. Alex Rodriguez has moved from a tackle to a guard. You got Connor Terrell, who's rejoined the team, was a fullback. Now he's a tackle. I thought they did a great job against a very talented team last week in Haywood. The positive for Union City is they've got some skill folks back. Caleb Craig would have started at fullback for everybody else around here last season. He just happened to be behind Trey Jones, who ran for over 2,400 yards. He had 900 yards, Robin, as a backup last year. He's going to gain a lot of yards this year if he stays healthy. Connor Hurt moves from tailback to quarterback. I think he's starting to get it. I really think he's starting to get the veer midline, the triple option there. And then at tailback, they got a little sophomore, Wes Tillman, who's not scared. He'll stick his nose in that dark hole and really has run with a great deal of enthusiasm and confidence in the preseason. I think they're going to be explosive offensively. On the defensive side, I think Terrell will make a lot of tackles at linebacker. I think Caleb Craig will make a lot of tackles. I think Hurt in the secondary. I think Sam Theobald's got a little injury right now with a tricep, but I think he's going to make a lot of plays. I think Caleb McClendon is going to make a lot of plays. He's gotten a lot better in the offseason, a lot stronger, a little faster or whatever. So, again, I think this could be one of those years, Robin, that where there's not really a clear-cut favorite in 1A. In 2A, and I think there's 5 or 6 teams that could win. I guarantee you, if you ask Darren Bolden right now, Coach, would you take another 41-0 loss if you knew it was going to lead to a state championship at the end of the season? He'd take that, but he hopes it's not going to be 41-0.
He'd have a little hard time with it, I guarantee you. But because like you said before, I'll travel 1,000 miles for a win.
That's it, and has.
Yeah, and evidently plans to do it again.
Yes, exactly.
You've been listening to the Prep Report with Robin Francis and Mike Hutchins. Listen each week as Robin and Mike bring you exclusive information on what's going on in West Tennessee high school sports. For sponsorship information, call 731-446-7496.